You've probably had this happen. Someone comes over for dinner. They sit down on your couch, they've just told you they don't really like cats, and within 4 minutes, your cat is in their lap, purring, kneading, and you're sitting 3 feet away. You buy the food, you clean the box, you pay the vet bills. You have loved that animal since the day you carried them through your front door, and they've walked straight past you to sit on a stranger who won't even pet them properly. So you sit there smiling, and quietly you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? Let me tell you right now, and it's going to sound backwards until I explain it. You're not doing too little. You're almost certainly doing too much. Hi everyone, I'm Leo Bennett, your neighborhood cat guy. Today I'm answering the question I get more than almost any other. How does your cat decide who their favorite human is, and what do you actually have to do to become that person? Because cats absolutely play favorites, and the things they're judging you on are not the things you'd expect. It isn't who feeds them most. It isn't who loves them most. There's a real list, it's specific, and every single item on it is something you can change starting tonight. And at the end, I'll give you the signs that tell you whether you're already the favorite and just never noticed. Quick note before we start. This is one chapter of a much bigger conversation about what your cat is trying to tell you, and I've gathered all of it into a book called The Happy Cat Manual over at leobennettsecrets.com. If you want more happy years with your cat, go take a look. That's all. Now, let's start with the one that explains your dinner guest. Number 1, and this is the big one, cats choose the person who leaves them alone. I know how that sounds, but this is the single most misunderstood thing about cats, and it's the reason the guy who's allergic gets the lap. Because here's what most people don't grasp. Dogs are built around social contact. You initiate, they're delighted, the whole system runs on you making the first move. Cats are built around control of their own environment. A cat wants to decide when contact happens, how long it lasts, and when it ends. That isn't aloofness. It's a solitary hunter sitting in the middle of the food chain, for whom losing control of a situation historically meant losing everything. So when you cross a room, corner a cat, and scoop them up because they looked cute, you haven't given them affection. You've taken away their choice. And there's real evidence for this. Researchers in Switzerland studied hundreds of human-cat interactions in people's homes, and the finding was consistent. When the human sat still and stayed occupied, reading, working, minding their own business, the cat was more likely to approach and more likely to stay. When the human initiated, the cat was more likely to withdraw. Read that again, because it's the whole video in one sentence. The less you demand, the more you get. So your dinner guest isn't a cat whisperer. Your dinner guest is doing nothing. And doing nothing is the most attractive behavior a human can perform in a cat's opinion. They're not making eye contact, they're not reaching, they're not calling the cat over. They're a warm, still, quiet thing that smells interesting. And to a cat, that's irresistible. So the correct way is genuinely difficult, because it means resisting the thing you most want to do. Don't pick your cat up unless you need to. Don't corner them. Don't hold them when they're trying to leave. Sit down, get comfortable, and be boring, and let the approach be theirs. And when they do come, keep it short. Let them leave while they still want more, because a cat who learns that coming to you always ends on their terms will come to you far more often. Number 2, cats choose the person who understands what they're saying. Every cat in every house is broadcasting constantly. Ear position, tail carriage, pupil size, the slow blink, the difference between a chirp and a yowl, and that specific, insistent noise they make at 5:30. And in most households, one person picks up a fraction of that and somebody else picks up far more. Cats notice which one you are. And it makes sense from their side. If you're an animal who can't speak the local language, the most valuable creature in your world is the one who understands you anyway. So the person who can tell the food meow from the good morning meow, who notices the tail go stiff and backs off before anyone gets scratched, who spots that the cat has gone tense because of a noise outside, isn't just a nice human. To the cat, that person is comprehensible. And here's the specific thing that earns the most credit, and it's not the affection, it's the restraint. Reading the signals that say, "Leave me alone," and then actually leaving them alone. Any human will respond to a cat rubbing against their legs. Almost nobody responds correctly to a cat whose ears have gone sideways and whose skin is twitching. The person who backs off at that exact moment, without needing to be bitten first, is building trust at a rate nobody else in that house is matching. So the correct way is to spend a week just watching. Learn your own cat's vocabulary, because they all have slightly different dialects. Learn what their ears do when they're uncertain, and their noise for hungry versus their noise for lonely. Respond quickly when they ask for something, and back off immediately when they ask for space. That's it. That's the whole skill. and it's worth more than any toy you'll ever buy. Number 3, and this one surprises people, your voice. Because here's something worth sitting with. Cats are not born loving humans. They're born in self-preservation mode. And to a small animal, we are enormous, loud, unpredictable, and clumsy. A human being is a threat until proven otherwise. And every cat in every home has quietly run that assessment on every person in the building. So what makes the difference? Volume and predictability. Cats find loud noises and sudden movements genuinely stressful, not mildly annoying, and they will actively avoid people who behave in ways that are unpredictable. This is exactly why so many cats are wary of small children and gravitate toward older people in the house. It's nothing to do with age, it's that kids move fast, shriek, grab, and change direction without warning, while an older person tends to move slowly and speak quietly. From a cat's perspective, one of those is a safe environment and the other is weather. And they know your voice specifically. Research in animal cognition has shown that cats can distinguish their own owner's voice from other human voices, even when they don't visibly react. That last part is very cat. They're listening far more closely than they let on. So, if you're the person who naturally speaks in a lower, calmer register, you may have been quietly winning this for years without doing anything deliberate at all. The correct way is simple, and it costs nothing. Drop your volume around your cat. Slow down when you move through a room they're in. Don't stomp, don't slam, don't loom. And never, ever shout at a cat. Beyond the fact that it teaches them nothing, it does something much worse than that. It converts you from the safe thing in the room into the unpredictable thing, and you will feel the difference in how they treat you for weeks. Number 4. Food, and specifically, routine. I'm not going to pretend food doesn't matter because it obviously does. Survival instincts run a huge portion of a cat's day, and few things rank higher than the reliable arrival of dinner. Cats are keenly aware of who feeds them, and, more impressively, exactly when. Their internal clock is far more accurate than yours. But here's the nuance most people miss, and it's why this isn't number 1 on the list. It's not the food that earns you the loyalty, it's the reliability. What you're actually giving your cat when you feed them at the same time every day is not calories, it's predictability. It's the message that this human can be counted on, that the world has a shape, that dinner arrives when dinner is supposed to arrive. That's a form of safety, and safety is the currency cats actually trade in. Which is why food alone doesn't buy the top spot. There are households where one person does every single feed and somebody else is clearly the favorite. The feeder was reliable, and the favorite was reliable and calm and didn't grab. So be the one who feeds them if you can, and do it on a consistent schedule rather than free feeding. Set meals at set times. That routine is what makes you predictable, and predictable is what you're really selling. Number 5. Scent, appearance, and the things you can't control. This is the one people find genuinely frustrating, so let's be honest about it. Cats have long memories, and some of what determines their preferences was decided long before you met them. A cat may take an instant dislike to someone for reasons that have nothing to do with that person's behavior. A hat, facial hair, a deep voice, a particular perfume. And what's usually happening is association. Something about that person is close enough to a bad experience from years ago to trigger the same wariness. That isn't the person's fault, and it isn't the cat being unfair. It's a memory system doing its job. But the good news is that it runs both ways. A cat can be drawn to somebody instantly because something about them recalls a trusted human from earlier in their life. A voice that lands the same way, a similar scent, the same unhurried movement. Sometimes the person who wins the cat over on day 1 has simply won a lottery they didn't know they entered. So when you're the person the cat has decided against, reduce the triggers you can and be patient about the ones you can't. Go easy on strong fragrance because your cat's sense of smell is dramatically more powerful than yours, and what reads as pleasant to you can be overwhelming to them. And then apply everything else in this video, twice as consistently. Association is learned, which means it can be relearned. It just takes longer than anybody wants it to. And number 6, which brings us to the thing I think most people get backwards. Quality time, and please don't confuse this with time spent. This is a distinction cats make very clearly, and humans almost never do. The favorite person is frequently not the person who's home the most. Someone can be in the house 14 hours a day, on the same couch, and be nothing more than reliable background furniture. And somebody else can walk in at 6, spend 20 focused minutes with that cat, and be the one they wait by the door for. Presence isn't engagement, and cats keep score on engagement. And here's the finding that genuinely changed how I talk about this. Researchers at Oregon State University tested what cats actually prefer when given a choice between 4 categories of stimulus: food, toys, scent, and human social interaction. Most people assume food wins by a mile. It doesn't. The single most preferred category for the majority of cats tested was human interaction. Let that land for a second. Given a free choice, most cats would rather have engaged time with a person than a snack. So all the money you've spent on toys and treats trying to buy a relationship, and the thing they wanted most was 15 minutes of your attention. So the correct way is to make that time deliberate rather than incidental. 15 minutes a day is enough, genuinely. Pull out a wand toy and let them hunt properly, moving it like something alive and letting them catch it. Brush them if they enjoy it. Talk to them while you're doing things because they're listening more than you realize. Invite them into your lap rather than putting them in it. What all of these share is that you're doing something with the cat rather than near them, and that's the entire difference between a housemate and a favorite. So let's answer the last question, the one I promised at the start. How do you know if you're already the favorite? Because a lot of you are, and cats aren't loud about it. Look for the physical stuff first, because that's where the honesty lives. Do they sleep on you or touching you rather than just in the same room? Sleep is when a cat is most defenseless, so choosing to be unconscious against your body is about as strong a statement as they can make. Do they follow you from room to room, not asking for anything, just relocating to wherever you are? Do they rub their face against you specifically, which is scent marking, meaning they're claiming you as family? Do they greet you at the door and not the others? Do they slow blink at you across a room or sit with their back turned to you, which is a cat saying, "I don't need to watch you"? And here's the comparison that settles it. Watch how they behave with everyone else in the house. Some cats are simply affectionate with all humans, and that's lovely, but it isn't a preference. What you're looking for is the behavior they give you and only you. And one last thing, because I think this matters. Having a favorite doesn't mean your cat only loves one person. A cat can be genuinely attached to an entire household and still gravitate toward one human above the rest. Nobody in that house is being rejected. And if your cat has picked you, take it seriously, because a cat's trust is not freely given, and it isn't given for no reason. You did something right, probably 100 small, quiet times, and they noticed every one of them. So, if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Almost everything that makes a person a cat's favorite comes down to a single idea. Be safe and be predictable. Be quiet. Be still. Let them come to you. Read what they're telling you and respect it. Show up at the same times, with the same food and the same energy. And then give them 15 honest minutes of your attention every day, because that's the thing they'd choose over almost anything else you could offer. It isn't a personality you're born with. There's no such thing as a cat person, not really. There are just people who accidentally do these things and people who don't, and now you know which ones they are. So tell me in the comments, who's your cat's favorite person, and is it you? Be honest, because I suspect a few of you are about to admit it's the one person in the house who barely acknowledges them. Hit like, subscribe, and send this to whoever in your home is losing this competition. I'm Leo Bennett, and as always, thank you for making the world a better place for your pets.